Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Greg Wilpert in Baltimore. Germany's newly appointed Minister of Defense and designated successor to Chancellor Angela Merkel, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, recently announced that Germany will give in to President Trump's demand to increase German defense spending to 2% of GDP. Currently, German defense spending is about 1.2% of GDP, and increasing it to 2% would make the German military the biggest and strongest military in Europe. The defense minister's announcement coincides with two other new requests from the United States. First, they requested for Germany to send troops to Syria to help the US control that area of the world, a demand that the German government eventually rejected. Second, the Trump administration asked Germany to send warships to the Strait of Hormuz. The official reason is to help escort civilian ships through the strait, but in practice this would contribute to the naval siege of Iran. Germany's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Heiko Maas, responded to the request as follows.
Germany will not participate in the planned naval mission put forward by the United States. We are working in close contact with our French partners. We consider the strategy of applying maximum pressure to be wrong. We do not want a military escalation and will continue to rely on diplomacy.
Despite the rejection of increasing Germany's involvement in the Middle East, the announcement to increase German defense spending suggests that German resistance to US demands is eroding. Joining me now to discuss Germany's military role in NATO and in the rest of the world is Annette Groth. She's a former member of the Bundestag for the left party Die Linke and was also a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Migration, Refugees and Displaced Persons of the Council of Europe. Thanks for joining us again, Annette.
Hello.
So what is the debate within Germany about militarization and foreign deployment? Are young Germans, for example, who are required to serve in the military interested even in supporting the growing role for Germany's military? And how will these policies reflect or affect the CDU's, the Christian Democratic Party's popularity as a political party?
Yeah, very good question. Well, I guess it is not in the forefront of the major topic to be discussed among German youngsters or the youth. As you may know, as in the US and in other countries, the biggest problem for us now is housing. We have a huge housing problem. We have a dire need of more medical doctors in our health system, in our hospitals, our complete infrastructure, mainly concerning the railway tracks, is in dire need for reparation and more investment, etc., etc. So military build-up is, maybe fifth or sixth topic, and it is at the moment not discussed apart from the Strait of Hormuz and the military mission. But otherwise, the increase at the moment is completely neglected. I always emphasize that now we are spending this year 43 billion euro for military expenses. This is daily 120 million euro, immense. So and this what could you do with 120? In a week it is close to 10 million. So lots of repair in infrastructure, getting more personnel in hospitals, etc., etc. So this is really pressing on our daily, work and discussions. What I have with friends, and military budget. Will of course then reduce the money which is now available for social services and infrastructure. So once we have more money, even for military, then you have to reduce the other expenditure, which would be a disaster, quite frankly. So it is very unpopular to talk about increase of military expenditure. So at the moment, therefore, the CDU is silent on this completely, and they are very wise to do that, because you may know that we have in a couple of weeks elections in 3 Länder provinces. Yeah? And our right-wing party is at the moment, according to the polls, at least in 2 Länder, the strongest party. which is, for us a nightmare. So there are, at the moment, other things than the military expenditure. I mean, when I read the newspapers and listen to the radio and TV about this military mission to the Strait of Hormuz, which is really missing in this debate, is that it was Gibraltar, in other words, the UK government, who seized the Iranian vessel on 1st of July. This is hardly mentioned any longer. Yeah? And it is a breach of international law. We have international law on sea, which guarantees free passage to all the straits. It's not only the Strait of Hormuz, but only the Strait of Kerch, Bosporus, the Strait of Taiwan, etc. We have many of those. So until now, there was no way even to disturb this and to break this international law. And then responding to this with a US-led military mission or the European-led military mission to safeguard the Strait of Hormuz is completely very, very strange and not really focusing on international law. This disturbs me a lot because we are losing it, international law. Certainly with Trump now in the US, nobody's talking about the value of international law and how it guarantees, peace and safe passage, only to mention these examples.
Right. You mentioned international law, but another issue seems to me also Germany's constitution. I mean, originally, it forbids the deployment of German military forces outside of an official NATO deployment. And this is, something that the Allied powers imposed on Germany and was originally much tougher, but they imposed it after World War II to prevent Germany from becoming a major military power again. Now, is this restriction at all an issue, or has everyone forgotten about it?
Most of the people have forgotten about it because nowadays it is so in common to talk about the German role in the world. We are the world export leading country. German wealth, we have a very important role in the EU, and it is not any longer, debated whether German soldiers should be deployed in other countries. Of course, in the peace movement, still it is a political question. Personally, I'm completely against it.
What would it mean if Kramp-Karrenbauer, the defense minister, actually gets her way and increases defense spending to 2% of GDP? I mean, what would Germany do with such a powerful military force, and against whom would it be directed?
Very good question. This is, I ask myself, against what is it directed or against whom? Frankly, I don't know. What we see, of course, for quite some time is fake news accusing particularly Russia for whatever kind of things allegedly Russia is doing or not doing, posing a big, enormous threat to the West, to our values, all these gimmicks. But when you really look behind it, this is like Iran, it is very often simply not true. There are rumors, there are lies, there are accusations, and then, of course, justifying, then we need to build up our military to defend us. My goodness, nowadays, I guess, there's no European country that is really capable to defend itself. We in Germany are particularly vulnerable because we have the US military bases. And we are fighting for years and years to get rid of them. And I was happy, so to say, when there was a discussion recently about deployment. Trump threatened to deploy the military bases from Germany to Poland, because, you know, we are not the best allies in his point of view, apparently. I say, yes, get rid of the US military bases. Because Ramstein, as you may know, this is a small place where the drone attacks, all worldwide drone attacks are being channeled through. This has something to do with the geographical location of this place. And then we have Africom and Euro Oicom. So in Africom, Stuttgart, where I live, is the base for coordinating all the African US military mission. And we have quite a few, sometimes with European participation and some without. And one has to ask the question, is all this military really, is it helping us to have a better world and to have a safer place? This is simply not true. I recently read a study about the insecurity and security risks that have really drastically increased due to the missions, the US military missions in Africa. It has not brought more security, it has brought more instability, more injuries, more attacks, you name it. So, I mean, I guess we are ill-advised to continue with this military buildup instead of, reducing military expenditure and putting it into our education, health systems, and others. And this is, I guess, what is completely missing in this public discussion.
All right.
And I mean, we had this.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there for now. I was speaking to Annette Groth, former member of the Bundestag for the left party Die Linke. Thanks again, Annette, for having joined us today.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
And thank you for joining the Real News Network.